From young families escaping the hurricane zones to retirees looking to stretch their dollar. For a while, it felt like everyone was trading the palm trees for the Buckeyes, the hurricane insurance for the snowplows, the Florida chaos to the Ohio stability. Here's the thing, right? After helping so many Floridians move to Ohio, one of the biggest things we're seeing is they're actually going back. So I'm gonna share the story behind why people who thought they found paradise in Ohio are moving back to the Sunshine State. I'll be honest with you, the transition from Florida sunshine to the Ohio winters, it's really causing some mental health battles that no one really talks about. Talking about people that had over 300 days of sunshine now have it reduced to 60 from November to March. A client of mine moved here from Tampa. They thought they could handle the winters, but by the middle of February, they were talking to a therapist and thinking about getting light therapy. What's really surprising is the shift in mood. It wasn't just that, it caused issues with their jobs, their relationships, and their children's behavior. And you see, after 24 months, they actually moved back to Florida, saying the savings just were not worth the mental hassle. Vitamin D deficiency, it's real, and it's driving people back south quicker than anything else. Talk about something that's driving Floridians away left and right, and it's the social dynamics of Ohio. I'm told the social dynamics of here is completely different than the South, and honestly, most people just never integrate to it successfully. Florida has this transient culture where someone is always from somewhere else, kind of making it easier to assimilate to the location. Ohio, on the other hand, has multi-generational families that all live here. I had friends of mine that actually moved here from Florida a little while back, and their kids could never assimilate to middle school and high school just because they've already founded their friend groups in kindergarten and pre-K and as well as elementary school. And combine this with the difficulty of making friends, especially as adults, and yeah, those are things you absolutely have to think about. When you're living in places like Columbus, right, you got a lot more transplants there, especially with OSU, but those are also college kids. So when you're thinking about making friendships and the social dynamics between Midwestern charm, these are things that you absolutely have to take into account. See, combining with this, there's also one big thing that we have to talk about, and that's taxes. See how everyone is thinking about how Ohio has low property taxes. Floridians are realizing there's another side to that coin that no one has talked about. And we're gonna explain this in greater details, and stick around because topic number 7 and 8 are things that you absolutely need to understand because I've never seen them discussed in any YouTube video whatsoever. But let's talk about the taxations as a whole. Florida has no income tax, whereas Ohio takes 3 to 4% right off the top. However, this number is going to change. Ohio is going to a flat income tax in 2026. I made that video right here on Instagram. It got a ton of comments, both approving of this, disapproving of this, loving this, hating this, the whole shebang. So here's what we gotta know. So you had a client of mine actually move here from Jacksonville. They were making about $150,000 a year, and they thought that they were going to save more money in the long run. Between state income tax, higher local taxes, and winter-related expenses, they were actually paying more money than they ever thought before. The property tax savings were eaten up by their income tax. Combine that with the fact they needed to make more winter-related costs and expenses and heating costs as well. At the end of the day, they were like, dang, I'm actually paying a lot more money than I thought. You know, combining with the taxation aspect of it, we have to think about jobs as well. Columbus has massive job growth, that's for certain. But there's 3 massive entities that exist here. We're talking insurance, governmental, and healthcare. Industries that necessarily don't offer the same progression as Florida's more diverse economy. Now, Florida as a whole still has a really relatively low minimum wage, but all the people that are going there for those high-income software earning jobs, maybe the 6-figure salaries, Florida has a really nice talent pool, especially with it being the Sunshine State. We're seeing a lot of people make that opportunity to migrate there whenever they get a chance. Florida has aerospace, agriculture, tourism, and international trade as well. Combine this with their growing tech scene, and it makes sense why people from Florida are moving back to Florida. For specialized professions, Ohio's economy can feel a little bit more stagnated than Florida's as a whole. I think both of these locations have really good economies and job opportunities. It just matters what specifically you are looking for and what specific sector you are in. Talking about something that I haven't heard anyone else talk about, and it's a sad, disappointing reality of appreciation. Listen, all across the country, inflation has gone up tremendously, that's for sure, right? We also know that appreciation in all properties have gone up exponentially. Exponentially? I said I combined 2 words. Here's the funny thing, right? Florida's appreciation is absolutely exponential. Ohio's is also exponential, but it's definitely not at the rate of Florida's. Florida's real estate prices can grow from 15 to 20% dependent on the boom and the season, whereas Ohio's is a lot more steady. We're talking about the 3 to 5%. See, one of my real estate partners that I think is like 1 billion years old was telling me this story. They sold their house in Florida at its peak, their client did. They bought a house in Ohio. They made almost 75% in appreciation on the house that they sold there. They bought a house a few years ago, and they're slowly gaining about 12 to 15% in appreciation here in Ohio. Now, here's the big thing. Columbus as a whole is absolutely massive when it comes to new build opportunities. New builds tend to appreciate a lot slower than other retail residential homes that have been existent in land and locations that have trees, that have structure, and that have honestly been around for a really long time. Because with new build homes, here's something you gotta think about. There's construction noise, there's no trees as well. In fact, most of the home appreciation doesn't exist for the first 5 to 10 years with a new build property. These are things that you absolutely need to know. Listen, if you're going to be using real estate as a vehicle for investments, these are things that you absolutely need to understand as well, and make sure that you have in your appreciation calendar. Florida's economy right now is growing. However, Florida's market, especially in real estate right now, Tampa specifically has almost 30% in price drops on their homes. Places like Osceola and Orlando, they have literal dead zones. People aren't buying anything. So if you are looking to go back to Florida as well, it might be the right time. You sell your house at a peak dollar amount here in Ohio and you go buy something for pennies to the dollar there. Let's talk about something that I think is very important, and that's culture. There's a massive culture shock that happens when people come to Ohio. You have Latin communities, you have Mediterranean communities. Honestly, you have communities from all over. International people are coming to Florida. Ohio, again, can feel a little bit more homogeneous and dependent on specific suburbs and locations that you go to. Actually, a client of mine moved here from Miami, Brickell Bay. I think I spoke about this on one of my older videos. They moved here. Gagan, it's crazy how different everything is here compared to Miami. You missed the international foods, the multilingual opportunities, the multilingual environment, and the cultural celebration that made Florida worldly. Now, don't get me wrong, they absolutely love Ohio, and they're not planning on leaving anytime soon, but these are things that you absolutely need to understand as well. Ohio is a lot slower when it comes to assimilation. Florida is just this massive melting pot with all these things, all these people just combined here, and you're gonna get the best and the worst of both sides. Listen, there's nothing wrong with this or that. However, it's pretty prevalent that Florida has a lot of amazing things going on with it. Combine this with something else that's hyper prevalent here. Ohio shuts down early, and for Floridians that kind of want that late night extravaganza, we don't really have that here. Restaurants shut down at 9 p.m., local bars shut down at 1, and late night snacks and late night things to do, it's virtually just non-existent. And on top of those things, most activities here are, well, family-centric or sports-centric as a whole. And for people that are looking for, a little bit more hippity-doo-dah, that's really not prevalent here. And one of the most interesting things that I have been seeing is a lot of people that are coming to Ohio, again, it's for job opportunities that exist, or it's also just for that, more tranquil piece of life, right? Florida has a lot of things about it that's very just high energy. Ohio is a lot more slower. Let me tell you one time that you can't go out anywhere, and that's the winter time, because the winter shock of Ohio, yeah, it'll hit you different, right? I'm from New York, so I'm kind of used to it at this point, but people that are from the South or even just from the West Side as a whole, it hits them like a massive truck. We're talking about $300 plus for winter bills. We're talking about $500 in apparel. We're talking about $1,000 in snowplow services. You had a client of mine that budgeted for the higher heating costs, but what was the rock salt, ice melt, winter tires, and increased car insurance, and the constant replacement of winter gear. First winter here cost them over $6,000. Even with hurricane insurance, sometimes you're actually spending more money here than you would have ever thought before. Let's talk about something else that's definitely a little bit more damning, and it's this. Florida's healthcare system, in my opinion, is a lot more straightforward, especially because they have a lot more retirees. Ohio, it's complicated as heck. I had an older friend of mine that moved here from Sarasota, spending months trying to navigate the Ohio healthcare system, finding specialists and understanding insurance networks. In Florida, they had their doctors, they had the tools and resources necessary. In Ohio, they kind of felt like they were scratching the surface of this relationship and then scratching that relationship and over and over and over again with different people. Especially here in Columbus, if you're moving to Columbus or living in Columbus, one of the biggest things that you gotta know is, albeit our doctors are amazing, the politics behind them, not so much. Ohio Health, Mount Carmel, and so many other health insurances exist here, but they're not very friendly with each other. I'm gonna put it as simply as I can. The quality of care is amazing, especially in places like Cleveland and Columbus. But the navigation of that, yeah, it can be really, really overwhelming. Talk about something that no one has ever heard about before, and stick around to the end because again, I'm gonna give you a topic that I really do think you have to understand from the back of your mind to the front. Because if this one thing isn't talked about, well, the whole journey becomes a moot point. But before that, we are local realtors here in Columbus, Ohio, and as much as we love making these videos, we'd love the opportunity to help you make a move. If you are thinking about going back to Florida, if you're thinking about coming to Ohio, we'd love the opportunity to collaborate and make this a smooth ride. Whether you're coming, leaving in 9 days, 90 days, or even a year from now, all of our information is in the description below and pinned to the top of the comments. Florida has pretty predictable, albeit very aggressive driving patterns. Here in Ohio, it's a lot more passive aggressive, but you don't understand whether the passiveness is gonna come from here, there, or here. And that gets really frustrating, right? I have to drive all the time. I show houses for a living. Then let me tell you, when I'm driving, especially in the outer belt, maybe I-70, I-71, I don't wanna do it. Sometimes I question my decision all the time. But here's the big thing. Columbus is one of the worst area, especially if you're new to driving in Ohio. Now, if you're looking somewhere more rural, right, without all these crazy people, then you're fine. Don't even worry about this too much. But if you want something a little bit different, you want something a little bit more diverse, and you kind of want to be in the city of things, yeah, the traffic patterns, you absolutely need to understand them. And one of the biggest things that people fear all the time is winter driving patterns, right? It is honestly scary when there's ice on the road or the winter storm is just absolutely disgustingly bad and you have to go back to the office. When your car is sliding and you don't know how to stop it and you can't press the brake, is a come to Jesus moment like nothing I've ever seen before. You know, combining with this, one of the biggest things that I think people realize, especially when they're going back to Florida, is this. It's family, right? It's love. And I know this sounds cringy or corny, whatever you want to say it, but people miss their family, man. Like for me, I was living in Denver for 6 months, and truth be told, I missed my family. I wanted to come back home because I missed my mom and dad and my baby sister. Now, there was a lot of external things as well. I don't want to get too deeply into that, but let me tell it to you like this. People that are moving to Ohio, they're also moving back to where they came from because they realize it's not about what you do or why you do it, but it's about who you're doing it with. Emotional connection, local support, and childcare support as well. These are things that a lot of Floridians have, especially whether it be from people that are living close by to them, or extended family, whomever. The isolation, especially from grandparents, grandchildren, loved ones as a whole, it's gonna take not only a mental burden, but also a physical burden on you as well. And this isn't just Florida either, this is everywhere. If your family's not moving with you, and let's say you do love your family, then yeah, you're gonna wanna take all these things into account. If you're moving to Ohio, if you're moving to Columbus, if you're living in Ohio, living in Columbus, all of these things are things that you absolutely need to make sure that you have in the back of your minds before you make any big decisions whatsoever. I know what you're thinking, let's retire in Ohio where the cost of living is a lot cheaper, but a lot of Floridians are realizing that this is not where they want to retire, especially in their last days. The harsh winters, limited outdoor activities, and the healthcare issues, well, it's not the best situation, especially if you are elderly. Dealing with things, especially like snow removal, plowing, and just overall issues that you have with aging infrastructure as a whole, it's not gonna be the ideal situation for anyone. I actually had clients of mine move back to Naples where they lived in a retirement-friendly area, and they love it there. Now listen, there's definitely some retirement-friendly areas here in Ohio and Columbus as a whole, but here's the big thing. There's not that many compared to other locations, and honestly, living there, it can cost you a pretty penny as well. You know, in the business world, there's a thing called opportunity cost, which is the cost of doing one action and not committing to another. Many Floridians are realizing the opportunity cost of being here and not there. Florida is entering another massive growth phase. Florida's population is projected to grow by 3 million people over the next decade, creating massive economic opportunities. And one of the big things that Florida's talking about right now is creating a universal trademark, meaning that your license, let's say you're a real estate agent in Columbus in Ohio, Florida is saying, go ahead, be a realtor here as well. That's fine. That's insane when you think about it. From a business growth perspective, so many businesses aren't going to have to go with the turmoil and the hassle of getting licensed, getting this taken care of, getting that taken care of. Now, there's certainly downsides to this as well, but the fact being that this opportunity exists, we're going to see another massive boom. Hey, listen, Ohio is also fighting this. Columbus, for example, we're expected to grow and have another 3 million people by 2050. That's not that far away when you think about it as well. Andrew, Amgen, all these companies that are here, it kind of makes sense why people are coming specifically to Columbus out of any other Ohio locations. But Floridians that have lived in both Florida and in Ohio, yeah, they're saying, I want to go back. I told you to stick around to the end because this is where it gets good. And I'll be honest with you, this is a massive talking point and something that is driving people away, and it's identity crisis. Perhaps the biggest reason why Floridians are moving back home is because of a misalignment in lifestyle. Florida is about outdoor activities, beach year-round, and enjoyment of social settings. Ohio is about indoor activities, seasonal activities, and community-oriented things. I had clients of mine move here from Key West, and what they told me was kind of sad. They said, Gagan, I feel like I'm forcing myself to assimilate to something that I don't even want to do. Sure, they were paying less money for housing, but they were paying for it with happiness and lifestyle. They moved back to Florida where, yeah, the financial savings, it's stretching a little bit longer, but they're also a lot more happier. You want to make sure you have all these things taken into account and all these considerations as a whole. Again, I've lived in places like Rochester, New York. I was born in Nepal, right? I understand that different things, different strokes, whatever you want to call it, for different people. And it's vital that you understand the same thing as well. And honestly, I think that's why so many Floridians are just moving back. Number one, they're sick of the winters. Number two, the lifestyle assimilation is just really rigorous and difficult. And there's definitely hidden costs to Ohio that, well, frankly, most people don't ever talk about. And that's why I made this channel. That's why I make these videos, because I want to make sure that you have all the information that you need. And by the way, talking about Ohio, I live in Columbus, right? I love Columbus. I actually did an entire video on the 30 reasons why I absolutely love living in Columbus. I'm going to put that video right here. Watch it, and I'll see you soon. Peace.